Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Drew. This is Just a Guy at Linux. And about a year ago, clearly I did a video on Sway. It did fairly well. And even when I looked at this repo, which is what that video was about, it showed 42 stars and 19 forks. And that's pretty darn good for me. So, as many of you know, I have moved a great many of my repos from GitHub to Codeberg, including Sway and DWM. So if you go to my Codeberg page at codeberg.org/justaguylinux, the two featured setups is my DWM, which got an update when moved over to Codeberg, as well as Sway, which has also gotten a major upgrade. Does that mean many of the other window managers did not get touched? No, it doesn't. Actually, I made sure that all of them were Trixie compatible. If it's over here, it has been tested for compatibility with Trixie, as well as a few changes here and there to make what I would consider it better. Qtile I would like to talk about at some point, but this is not that video. And there's a new project called ButterZSH that is very similar, if not incredibly similar, to Butter Bash. So if you're interested, have a look at that. But we are talking about Sway today. Let's go ahead and click on Sway Setup. And we're going to look at this project. The install script is what we're going to be running as soon as I wipe this machine and put Debian minimal install, and with nothing else, basically. Okay, the only thing I'm going to add to it is git. We're going to git install, or git clone rather, this repo, and run the install script. However, before going any further, I want to talk about NVIDIA-setup script. Okay, does it install NVIDIA drivers? No. Okay, what it's looking for, it's going to detect whether you have NVIDIA proprietary drivers. And if so, it is going to make a couple changes to ensure that you get that it will run correctly, that Sway will run correctly when you log in. Okay, it's going to make a couple changes, including this exec equals sway -- unsupported GPU in the sway.desktop file. Okay, that's among. So if we have any problems, I apologize. I have no way to test this. So I rely on other people to do the testing and to say, hey, this is an important thing. You need to make this change. I'm doing my best here. If you have no NVIDIA GPU, it's basically going to skip it, and you will be able to just run everything normally. So with that being said, let's go ahead and open a terminal. Let me just say hi, just so in case anybody was curious, this is BSPWM desktop, and I am going to sudo reboot. And the next thing you're going to see is when I have completed the minimal install, and I'll see you soon. So now with Debian minimal install complete, we need to sudo apt install git. Okay, that's the very first thing that we need. Once that's complete, we're going to git clone https://codeberg.org/justaguylinux and then sway-setup. Okay. This will take just a second, and so we're going to go into the Sway setup, and let's ls. Again, you'll see the two shell scripts that are there, the install script and the NVIDIA setup script. Again, if you skipped around this video, NVIDIA setup is not to install drivers. It is to verify or to look to see if in the NVIDIA proprietary drivers are already installed, and then make an adjustment. Okay, now let's go ahead and nano install.sh so that we can take a look. Now the format of most of the scripts that I write is the very top part is kind of a helper, and it is intended to help those that are trying to either install or figure out what you would need on a different distro. For example, there are packages that are listed here for Fedora as well as for Arch. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm going to stick to the major ones. So Fedora, Arch, and Debian. Most of them, if you have Ubuntu, I will never say, don't try this. You know, I would give it a shot. But this is intended and has been tested with Debian 13 Trixie. That's all I'm saying. So when you get down here, though, it will actually tell you what packages are going to be installed via Debian Trixie. And so you've got Sway, which is just part of the regular stable branch of Debian, Sway idle, and then of all those that you're seeing here, you're going to go down to WL Clipboard, Grim and Slurp, and NWG Look, the LX Poll Kit. I always install Thunar. It is my tried and true. It's the one that I like the best, and I typically stick with what I know. Okay. Then there are things like Gawk and a few other so part of the script, the new script that I wrote, uses Gawk as part of the experience. Basically, it's the help script. So I installed Gawk, which is such a small package, I didn't think anybody would mind. And then you've got a few more things to install, and that is it. But once you get down here, it's going to, like I said, install. It's going to install all these packages. It's going to install Firefox, depending on, and I put this kind of like in just as a helper. If you try to do this on Ubuntu, the ESR version is not going to be there, but obviously on Debian it is. And if you, there is no Firefox ESR on Ubuntu, so that would fail. And then it would just install Firefox as a, that's it. Then there is going to be a few more things. It's going to copy all of the configuration files and put them in the right spot. It's going to create this symbolic link for the GTK lock, as well as the foot. I actually put in a foot configuration file that will look similar to my Wes term. And then it's going to create a screenshots directory. And then it goes through what I think is like the best part of the script, which is it goes through butter scripts. So it's pulling down a lot of the stuff from my butter scripts project, installing Wes terms. That way, if I am using this on multiple installs, I only have to go to one spot to make a change, and everybody gets updated, basically. Or I don't have to do this or replicate this on multiple projects. Anyway, but this is obviously specific for this. Installing Rofi Wayland is something that I had considered not doing. But then when I did, I was like, yeah, I'm going to keep that in. Because I was just going to use Wofi, but I like the Rofi Wayland. And I like the Rofi Wayland. It's going to install theming. It's going to download a little wallpaper directory, about, I don't know, maybe 15 wallpapers that you can choose from. I've already pre-chosen one for this. This install LightDM is actually not just LightDM. You have your pick for which display manager you want to use. I originally named this LightDM because I was only going to say install LightDM, and I stand by that, but this will allow you to install SDDM or GDM3 or whatever. And then it does hit this NVIDIA setup script. If it doesn't detect anything, or if you're using AMD, it'll just skip, basically. If you're using Nuvo, it'll skip. But if you have proprietary NVIDIA, it will do something. Okay, and then it gets to the optional tools, which is another part of the butter scripts, and we'll get to that eventually. And that is all. So, with that said, let's go ahead and exit. Let's clear the screen. Now let's go ahead and just hit the install.sh or /install.sh, and it's going to ask for yes. And once I hit yes, I'm going to pause. So yes, and pause. All right, complete with that first section, and it is done. And it took, I don't know, a couple minutes. I was doing something else while it was going. And now it gives you the option, like I said before, with LightDM or something else. I still will end up picking LightDM 9 times out of 10. So we're going to select that, number 1, and let it install. Now we get to the optional tools. We're going to say yes here, and it's going to get it from the Butterscript's Codeberg packages. And let's go ahead and hit 1. And it's going to list the Butterscripts that I have that available. I like Butter Bash, but I did create this Butter ZSH, and there are other things that you might want to use here. Now I'm going to select one, Butter Bash, really quickly. I'm going to say yes, and it's going to give me the option to install recommended tools like FZF and RipGrep, and I always take advantage of that. And as soon as that is done, it's going to give me a list again. And I'm going to install Genie because I can. I am going to pause it here. What I'm going to do, listen, one of the things that I've recommended is, because it's so much faster, is to install Genie 2.0 via the Debian Trixie packages. But at the same time, I actually am using Genie 2.1. So I'm going to do that, but you don't need to see it compile from source. So I'm going to go ahead and skip that. All right, after compiling, it's going to ask you the question whether you want to apply my configuration of Genie. I know that a few people have mentioned that they really have enjoyed this, so I'm going to say yes, and we'll take a look at that later. And we're going to go ahead and enter. Let's go into browsers real quick, okay, so that we have more than one. I'm going to go ahead and install the Helium browser, which is new and exciting. And since we already have Firefox installed, I'm going to install FastFetch really quickly. And as soon as that is done, I got one more thing. So that's done. And let's install NeoVim, custom NeoVim. Okay. And what that is doing is it's going to my NeoVim Codeberg page, and it is getting the latest version of NeoVim, which as of today is 0.11.4, is installing it, and then is putting my configuration in the .config nvim directory. And that is all. So let's go back to the main menu. If we want to install additional APT packages, it's right here for you. I'm just going to go ahead and skip. If you want something like, as far as graphic application is here, a different terminal here, and text editor. Whoops, I hit the microphone by accident. And then let's go ahead and say MPV, for example. Sure. And let's get 6, and I think 9 is already installed, curl, but let's go with 11 just because. Actually, let's do 5 as well. Do I want to install LibreOffice? The answer is no, not today. It'll take a little bit of time. And let's get one more thing, and let's call it Figlet. And that's it. Oop, supposed to hit yes. And there you go. So it's going to install those things for you. That's just there for convenience more than anything else. And then once this is done, we're going to reboot. And good. And I don't need to install printer or Bluetooth anything right now. Let's just go ahead and hit reboot and say yes. And now it's going to reboot. Again, I'll pause. Okay, as we are rebooting, I wanted to make sure that thank you for watching this video. It's very, very kind of you if you've gotten to this point. Thanks very much. We have a way to select Sway here. We're going to go ahead and put our username and password in, and we should be greeted by Sway. And here is the newest version, newest configuration for Sway that I have done. Let's talk about this. Typically, I don't use the Vim motions in my configuration. I make sure that I have my direction arrows in. For example, I'm going to open up a terminal and say Figlet A. Okay, and let's open up another one and say Figlet B. Okay, and so you've got two things. And in order for me to switch sides, you just say Super Shift and then left arrow or right arrow. Okay, and in this time, I'm decided to keep in my Vim motion. So I use Super Shift H, J, K, and L. So I would use Super Shift H or Super Shift L and have it switch back. So if I want to change focus, I can just use Super H or Super L and it changes focus. Same thing, Super Left and Super Right, or both of them work right out of the box. But what does that mean in order for me to have those Vim motions? It also means that I cannot use Super H for my help script. So let's go ahead and close these two. And in order to get my help script, or the key binding script to work, I'm going to use super and then the slash or the question mark key, depending, so it's right next to the, at least on my keyboard, the right shift key. So that super slash or question mark. And you're going to see the list of key bindings. By taking a quick look around, mod 4 or super return is going to bring up your WESTerm terminal. Super Q is going to close an application. Super spacebar is going to show your application launcher in Rofi. If you do make a change, you're able to reload the configuration by using Super Shift R. And if you want to exit, it's Super Shift X, and then you're going to have to say yes, exit Sway. This is a little different. I don't use GTK lock because I don't use Wayland very often. So let me go ahead and escape and say Super X. Okay, it basically locks the screen until you put your password back in, and you're good to go. Now, as we go down, we're going to see that there are 12 workspaces for you to choose from. But let's talk about layouts. So let me type layout to give you a subset of the keybinds. You're going to see Control Shift 1 through 5 here. Okay, as well as a script that allows you to change the layouts without knowing what the keybinds are. But you have to use Super Shift P in order to do that. Okay. Let me go ahead and escape. And by default, you're going to see that the layout is what is called split H, or horizontal. It's a horizontal row. And like I said before, you can switch focus by using either direction keys or by using Vim motion, so Super H or L. If you say Control Shift 2, it puts it in a split V or vertical. So it becomes a vertical column, I guess is the best way to describe that. And again, you can change and shift focus to each column. Let's go ahead back to and use the horizontal row. And let's go open and say layouts again. Okay. And so let's talk about the tabbed layout, because I wanted to make sure that this was in. When I was talking to Matt on the Linux Cast this past week and the week before, he mentioned that he might actually switch back to i3 because of tab groups. And that was something that I was like, oh, wow, I bet Sway has that. So I wanted to make sure that it was in Sway in case there was either him or somebody else that was interested in that particular layout. And I kind of like it, actually. So, and let's go ahead and escape. And excuse me, let's use that script, that Super Shift P, which will show you a list of the layouts. And we're going to go down and use the tabbed layout. So if I select that, you actually, this is a little bit more challenging to see, but if you're looking up here, you can switch between these two terminals, even though they look like they're in the same space. They are basically taking up the same real estate. They're full screen. But let's add an additional application. And so we're going to do that with Thunar. Okay, so now when I say super, let's just say left arrow to change focus, everything you're changing focus to which tab you want to get to. Now I'm on the middle tab actually. So if I use super Q to kill or close the application, it's going to just keep the other two open, and I'm able to switch between the two. So you're getting a tabbed full screen experience with whatever you open up. Let's open up another one. Let's just say, Firefox. Okay. I'm going to skip this. Okay. And skip. This is the first time opening Firefox. Okay. And there you go. Now, if I want it in a different order, I can still super shift and move the application to a different location within this tab or stack. So if I say super shift L with the Firefox, it's moved it. I don't know if you saw that, but it's moved it basically to tab. I'm going to say use a number here, tab 1, and you're able to, like I said, organize your tabs accordingly. So if I just go back over here and I say super shift and then right arrow key, it's going to move it to the end. Now, so you get to kind of play with this, all right? You can move it, you're keeping everything as organized as possible by moving the tab to where you want it and which order that you want it, okay? Same thing. Let me go ahead and switch to Control-Shift-4. So with 4, you're now stacked. Okay, so you just say super either J or K or down arrow, and now it's in a different layout. I kind of like the tabbed layout, if I'm being honest. So if I go back to Control-Shift-3, that is something that I would probably use more than anything else, especially if you're using one monitor and you're looking to do, especially like a normal resolution monitor, a 1080p or something like that. This works really stinking well. What if I wanted to take it out of the tab? I can just go, let's say I want to go over to the terminal and I say super shift spacebar, and it will toggle it out of the tabbed. I'm going to use the word stack but I don't think that's right, but you get the idea. I'm taking it out of the tabbed group. There we go. Better. And I'm able to use it and move it around. If I want to, I can simply move it or super shift 2. And then it's on workspace 2. Let's move it back over to workspace 1, super 1. And if I say super shift spacebar again, it's going to put it back into the tab group. There we go. I love that. Let's say I just want to take it out and tile it. Well, since it's on the end, I can just say a super shift and then right arrow key or L, super shift L. Okay, and it has removed it from the tab group and it is put it in its own window. So it became separate from the tab group. Hope that makes sense. I want to put it back. Super shift H or left, and it will put it back into the group. And again, if I say super shift H, it's just going to move it along the group. Oop, I just hit J, so it actually put it in below the group. Let's say K, and it adds it back. So you get the idea. It can be moved any way and in any way, shape, or form. I guess that's the best way to describe that. Let's just add a couple more things to this video and call it a day. So Super Spacebar, as we talked about, is going to provide a application launcher. By the way, if you say appearance, there's going to be the GTK settings, and this is this will allow you to use a GTK theme. I'm using the Orcus Gray Dark as well as the Colloid Gray Dracula Dark theme, which you can find in the description. Well, sorry, not in the description, but in the documentation. Again, NWG look. If you are, let me think. If you are looking, let's go ahead and just say hi. Okay. So you'll see that it says, hi there, welcome to Sway, okay? And then if you click on this, the bell, it's going to show your notifications and it's going to track them, and you can kind of like either clear them all, or you can just kind of like pick and choose which ones you want to do away with. You can also, there is a volume slider here, and so you get the idea. One more thing. So let's just say, let me go over here to Thunar. Let's just say I want to move this to its own workspace. I can just say Super Shift 2 and Super 2, and now Thunar is on its own workspace, okay? Also, if, let's go to workspace 3 and open up Genie, because I do want to show you, actually, let's close this, and let's move the file picker out of the way, and because I do want to show you a few things. Let's go to the top and work down. Okay, mod 4 would be the super key. If you are if you're interested in this section, what happens is GTK lock, which is what I showed you with the super X keybind. After 5 minutes, and without any type of interaction with the screen, it's going to just lock. It's going to run GTK lock, and you have to re-authenticate or log back in. Also, let's go down here a little bit. If you are interested, there are screenshot utilities. So if I, let's just say, hit print screen, it's going to say screenshot save to the screenshots directory. If I say super print screen, it gives you to say, I want that. And it will take that little window that or that rectangle, and it will save it to the screenshots. And if I say super, sorry, not super. If I say shift print right here, shift print screen, what it does is it says, oh, okay. And then it copies that rectangle and puts it in your clipboard. Okay. So speaking of clipboards, I have a keybind for clip history. So if I say Super V, okay, it's going to pop up D menu, and it's going to list the things that are in the in your copy history. Okay, so if you want to, you can just say, oh, I want that. Let's actually do this a little bit more. Let me say I want to copy this. Okay, and then if I say Super V, there it is, that line, so that you can retrieve it later. Okay, so if I said new, and then I clicked on this, and then I said paste, it would then copy that. Or if I, that's one example. Okay, let's go ahead and close this. I don't want to save that, and let's escape out of that. Hope I didn't go over that too fast. Sorry if I did. Okay. And like I said, there are app-specific settings. So like MPV, I always want it to float, and I want it to float in the center. EOG, let's go ahead and just open that up real quick. Unfortunately, there's nothing very interesting about this. I can move it and resize it if I want to. But basically, you get the idea. You want applications, certain ones, that will float. I should mention, so in order to resize, I'm going to use these, I'm going to hold down the super key, and to move, I hold down the super key and use the left mouse. But if I use the right mouse, it then will, it will resize, okay? Let's go ahead and close this. Speaking about resizing, let's go open another window, the terminal. And if I say super or hold the super key down here, and I use the right mouse, I can resize it just by sliding it, okay? Just by sliding it. Or if I don't want to use the mouse at all, I just say super control and then, you know, left and right keys. That way you don't have to pick up the mouse. You can just use your key bindings to resize, okay? Now, I guess that's about it. There is a lot. I mean, I'm not going to be able to like pick out every single thing because you make this specific to you. And so I hope that this will allow you to have a nice framework in order to make any changes that you would like. And appreciate your time. And I'll see you soon.